right, now it is time for our binge of the week, which is Summer of Soul, which is currently on Hulu. This is
Soul
a
Brother number
film,
five.
a documentary by Questlove, and it's based on a 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival. And it's interesting about this because, the interesting thing about this is that the footage sat 50 years just like in a basement because no one wanted to use it
Lied
for
fallow.
film. Yeah, and Questlove decided to make it his mission to turn it into a film, and now it has seen the light of day. It was at Sundance, 2021, and received a lot of rave reviews, critical acclaim, and we watched it here for this podcast. So I'll start with Yemi man. What did you think of Summer of Soul?
I think it's. I think it's. I thought it was brilliant, but it's also was like the Harlem Festival of '69, the Harlem Music Festival of
Summer
'69.
of
Yes, sir.
69.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
I thought it was a brilliant piece of work, and it was a little bit of bittersweet to watch because there's all this history. This just let me know there's so much black history that we don't know. What you think you don't know, and what you do know, you don't know, or like whatever the quote is, like what you think you don't know, and what you don't know, you really don't know. So that like when I saw that, I'm like, how didn't I hear about this in Black History class? Like this huge watershed Black History moment in Harlem, no less, that had all these great, pretty much like all these great virtuosos, artists, politicians, philanthropists, actors in this one space, and then, but everybody knows about Woodstock, right? Like that's synonymous with American history in the '60s. The whole groovy man, free love. Everybody knows about Woodstock, but I don't know, man. I think sometimes black people don't appreciate their own history. Why did it take Quest? He because I'm sure this got through black people's hands. Or it had to come by
I don't know that it did.
our brother
honestly.
Spike Lee. Spike Lee's a
I know.
smart
I
guy.
know. Well, yeah. I wonder.
But it
Yeah, in
had to
terms of the
it had to
footage.
come through people's hands. It had to. I refuse to believe that people didn't know that this footage existed in the
Yeah, I wonder.
lexicon of black cinema and just artistry. That the upper epsilon, the upper tiers of society and the black bourgeoisie, that people didn't know this existed. So the fact that how many years later, Quest is like, I'm gonna do it. I felt like almost like a strong arm, like someone has to do it. I'll pay for this to be seen. This beautiful archival footage, and I don't know. Watching it is really dope, but I felt again like bittersweet. Like, wow, how much other footage or how much other dope shit have we done that's just either in an archive somewhere or that's in someone's head as far as knowledge is concerned, or in a book I haven't read, or in a series that I haven't seen, or a poem I haven't written. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How
I
much?
mean, that's very much the pattern, the historical pattern of Black history, whether it be Black American history, African history. And yeah, it's just like tremendously disappointing. This is something that like my father, who grew up in Augusta, Georgia, I think he came up in the summer of '69 into New York, and this is something that he hadn't heard of. And he's like, I call him the Black Forest Gump. This is like, he was very big in the music scene. A lot of the artists that were there, he either met or knew, but this was not something he knew about. So I guess that just speaks to how.
Wait, your father didn't know about this?
No. So I think
that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This was an entire summer. And this is actually something, doesn't have anything to do with my review, but something that I thought was interesting was the fact that this took place through late June through August. This was like a 2-month event where I guess, I don't know if it was weekly or day in, day out, the park would get completely packed and you'd have these A-list Black artists come out and play. And I just, I don't understand how this is something that was swept under the rug. And also just like that idea that it took place as long as it did, or in the manner that it did. I don't really think that the documentary really communicated that, which is okay. But I didn't get a sense, like it was after like doing some research. I was like, wait, really? It was like that? I would have really liked to have heard more from people about this sort of longitudinal experience, like hearing people's experiences, like we went there this day and then we knew that we would be going back next week, that kind of a thing. But yeah, this is the pattern. that our history gets swept under the rug. And that's definitely a motif and a theme that they were open about with this, and why this was so special. But yeah, this is, to a certain extent, this is another, you know, I guess on the opposite end of the positivity negativity spectrum, but this is kind of like another Tulsa massacre. Obviously, the Tulsa massacre is a much bigger historical event per se, but it's something, saying as I say, like it was something that I didn't really know about, that we didn't really know about until watching Watchmen, or at least many of us. So
Right.
yeah, it's good to have something on that other end of the positivity negativity spectrum that has been unearthed, because you know, they talk about the different reasons why they had this concert in the first place, and it's because of all the fucking myriad assassinations that we were mourning from and reeling from JFK to MLK to Malcolm X to RFK. So, and then this was to prevent a riot. So, in a certain degree,
to quell the riots, because there were riots. Yeah, they were like, we're trying to keep it down because the city was going to explode even more.
Yeah. So I guess the re-release of this footage does have a similar quelling effect. Not that I'm on the verge of riot, but certainly tensions are flaring over the last year. We are still somewhat reeling from everything that's taken place over the last year. So it was food for my soul to have this documentary, I would say. That was a long way to interrupt you, Yemi. You were saying.
No, I'm done.
All right. But your overall thoughts on your evaluation review of the documentary itself, favorite moments, stuff like that.
Oh, it's definitely Stevie, man. Stevie, I'm like, this guy has to be an alien or something. His the young Stevie, whoo,
he's amazing.
Playing the, I don't know. I did not realize the grandiosity of his creative prowess. It's glorious to watch. Just him soloing on those keys, him hitting that trap, just like, wow, is he really sight deficient? Because wow, like just wow, you know what I mean? Just
a virtuoso.
Just like all of them, like they just, man, black people are so fucking dope, dude. So it's just like,
yeah. Nina was saying it at the end. Nina said it at the end.
We so fucking dope, and not to like toot our own horns and become like, you know, a circle jerk, excuse my French, but it's just, wow, like I didn't even know, you know what I mean? It's like it made me, it brought up weird emotions, because I feel like, and this is just in my experience, that we don't have that anymore, that unity, or like that, like everyone came together. That dude, what was the guy who actually made it happen, the black dude,
he was like, he would, yeah, I feel like that's a name we have to shout out while we're doing this. But
he was like the guy that actually
we can pause
and stuff like that.
Yeah, we can pause for a second. Let's look up his name. I can always just cut this out.
But just saying that to say why you guys look for it, I feel like I would love to be, I know, so I'll just say this. My friend O'Henny is doing a festival, and it kind of, I don't want to make it a race thing, but it's just, I feel like if he was Caucasian, he would get a sponsor or someone to make it happen more or legitimize it. And I feel like the same thing kind of happened in that festival, you know, like no one knew about it because Woodstock was where everybody was at, or where the press was at, or where the media and the news was at. And watching that just made me feel like, how can we, is that era of black cooperation and collaboration over? Because the only time I see that type of collaboration or cooperation is on an album or something, and that's not owned by us no how. So it's just like, I'm like something for the people, because that was for people, you know, like that concert was for the people. Yeah, you have Summer Jam, I guess. You have Shakespeare in the Park.
And it was free.
You have Summer Stage, but like something that is prolifically black for black people in heart. You know what? Do you understand what I mean?
The closest thing I can think of is Afropunk.
Maybe Afropunk. Maybe Afropunk.
I will say, just like in terms of the closest that I think closest experience that I've had that matches this would be Afropunk a few years back. I want to say like 2018, probably.
Yeah, Afropunk still happens in what is it? What park is that? It's not
I forget the
McCarran.
park in Brooklyn
Bedford
somewhere.
Park.
Yeah, it used
But
to be
just in
free.
terms of
Yeah.
the way the way that they spoke about being with so many different Black creatives, that is definitely a feeling you get when you go to Afropunk, especially people dressed up in all the regalia and everything. It's like that's a sight to behold, and that's different gravy.
I don't know. I would love to have more of that in my life. I know it exists. It's just it's not broadcast in a way that's as celebrative as, like, I guess other things like Coachella. Things that are just synonymous in our lexicon that we don't know why it's in our lexicon. Like, you know about Coachella, you know about Burning Man. I've never been, but I know these things exist. Do you
Yeah.
understand what I mean about your psyche? Like, you know these things exist, but you've never been to these things. And these are not, I don't want to say these are white things or black things, but they're not black things. You know what I mean? Like, Burning Man wasn't started by a black dude, to my knowledge. Neither was Coachella. And Coachella is like a celebration of music, and Burning Man is a celebration of life and spirit.
Well, certainly we haven't had anything like that in my lifetime in Harlem. The closest thing that you maybe could count is nothing for Black people, but Randall's Island's yearly concerts that we have, like Panorama, Electric Zoo. What's the other one I'm looking for? Gov Ball, shit like that. But yeah, not that. That's basically a time where you see a bunch of white college kids getting off the 4 train on 125th. Like, ooh, this is a lot of heroin addicts around here. I'm like, yep, enjoy the show.
Yeah, you know.
But we haven't had anything that amounts to this. In Mount Morris Park, and now it's Marcus Garvey. And without doxing myself, this is like pretty much literally my backyard, a stone's throw, a couple blocks away.
I didn't realize it was that big, that park.
It's huge. It's massive. Especially like I've especially since lockdown done a decent amount of like running. And so I'll run by or around or through Marcus.
Because I'm like, that has to be Marcus Garvey Park, because they're not in Central Park.
There's it used to be called Mount Morris. So like they're on that big ass rock.
Yeah,
there's that area where now there was a baseball field that was added to the Little League just as I was like aging out of it. So it's a weird history that park has, because it has this history attached to it. It has a lot of the history of the sort of crack epidemic that took place a couple of decades after. Certainly for most of my life living in Harlem, it's not been a park that I wanted to be around at night by myself. But over the last couple of years, with gentrification, but also just whatever general improvements to the neighborhood, it has become a much nicer park that is once again on the decline because of, I guess, everything that has to do with what's going on in the pandemic. I don't know. There was maybe a clinic, a methadone clinic that was added in this area. Needless to say, there are a lot more addicts around, and it's an issue. And it's probably not people from that are actually from here. So it's been an interesting and sort of troubled trajectory of a history is the one for Marcus Garvey Park. But yeah, I've never had an event like that in Harlem. But this was also one of the things that I loved so much about this documentary is that this was a historical pride moment that I could hang my hat on. I don't have a lot of pride as far as like being American, shit like that, but I definitely have pride in being a Harlemite. So this was something that did a lot for my soul to bring some pride that I can hold on to for generations and show my students, show my future children to have some pride in the place where I come from and grew up.
Yeah, the footage is amazing, and whatever they did to like make it look as good as they did was, I mean, they did a great job.
And the sound too.
Sound was great. The vibes. I mean, there's so many great moments. Yeah, it was. I mean, just really young. Gladys Knight. We talked about Nina Simone a little bit. Fifth Dimension. Their performance was great.
Let the sun shine, and seeing what the concert meant to them too. It was great to see not only what the concert meant to locals, which were, they didn't really have that many people that they could interview. And I read some articles, and I guess it was really hard to find people that lived here 50 years ago. But it was great to see what it meant to be playing for a Black audience, and to get that affirmation, to get that approval, as it were.
Yeah. Any other highlights for you, Danny, from the?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah. Number one, gotta shout out Stevie Wonder, and not just Stevie Wonder and his virtuosity. This is before any of his hits like really came out. But that edit at the beginning was just absolutely incredible and genius from Questlove. And you could tell, like I read in an interview that his process was he basically got the footage on a hard drive and found a way to put it on it's like 40 hours of footage and put it on a 24-hour loop in his house. And so that was one of the first things that he realized was like, that's going to be my first 10 minutes, Stevie. And he knew that Nina was going to be the last 10 minutes.
Man, shout out Questlove for being a nerd, dude.
Yeah.
I love that guy. Just, I have to figure out how to comb through 40 because he's still working. So I have to learn how to comb through 40 hours of footage, put it on a loop. Shout out him, man.
Yeah. No, super talented.
So yeah, shout out to that process for real. And shout outs for taking the initiative to release this. What a gift, man. But as far as other highlights, Fifth Dimension definitely in there. David Ruffin, holy shit.
Yeah.
Goddamn, boy can sing. Drugs or not. Well,
yeah.
I don't think he ever really did it without drugs, but really good singer. Sly and the Family Stone. Oh
yeah, that was great too.
Love me some Sly, and I love how I was like, did he actually show up? I love how they sort of brought in that narrative and his reputation for being a little bit of a fuckhead. But that was great. There was just so much footage that I enjoyed, man. It's hard to really think of anything else. Nina Simone. Oh my God. Yeah. Nina Simone. What a powerhouse of a woman. Just like someone's energy. It's like, you ever feel the energy of someone is just like, that is a beautiful fucking person. One of the most beautiful person I've ever seen. And not just in terms of her physical appearance. And she is attractive, but just the way she presented herself and the power and her elocution, her cadence,
and spirit.
Oh my God. The way that she's speaking almost like in a children's song to bring about Black pride, to I guess radicalize people to a certain extent. I love when she was like, "You ready, Black people? Are you ready to kill?" I was like, "Well, Nina, what are we doing? What are we doing tonight?
You should kill all the crackers." Like, you talking about Ritz? I'll kill these Ritz.
She said something else too, like something about like, "Oh, are you ready to destroy white things?" I loved it.
That was a crazy moment, man. Crazy moment. What a way to sort of like wrap up that doc.
But one of my other favorite things is not just like an artist and their performance, each of which was just like equally incredible. But just the idea, and this is something I never really knew, was the transition from being a Negro to being Black. That was something that I never quite knew the history of, but I guess like this was a thing of that. What an eventful fucking summer was the summer of '69. So I guess the year that the term Black was coined is the year that we had Woodstock, the moon landing. Another great juxtaposition is the lack of awareness and the discussion of the moon landing versus the resources being put towards that versus the lack of resources put towards equity and equality in the United States. There's just so much here. There's so much here. This is one of my favorite things that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
this is something definitely that you should show your white allies or friends if they're actually your friends or allies.
Yeah, I really have nothing really bad to say about the doc. Yeah, we could talk about some technical stuff or maybe wanting to see more of certain things. I mean, honestly, this could have been done even with so much footage. It could have been like a series, because there's just so much. But I mean, as a documentary, I think it was done really well. And the way that he interviewed people and used the footage to like show people who performed and also people who were there, just like having them like watch it and just be like taken back to that time was really, really dope to watch. So I guess with that being said, I guess we'll just give our final reviews. All right, so how many Black Fists in the Air do you give Summer of Soul, Danny?
I guess I gotta give this 5. Gotta give it 5.
Yeah.
Really, really very good. And it's something that I will keep in my library to show to people for years to come.
All right. What about you, Yemi?
Give it 5.
All right.
5 Black Fists.
There you go.
Sky high to the most high.
All right. Well, I'll complete it and I'll just say 5 as well. Go check it out. It's on Hulu, man. It's 2 hours. 2 hours of
some Black history, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I just want to talk about one last thing, and maybe it's stuff that we've kind of touched upon before when we've talked about One Night in Miami, just this conversations of consciousness in art. And one of the things that Questlove said in a New York Times interview was that he was hoping that there would be that this documentary would help to bring better balance in the Black music world of conscious versus not conscious art. And I'm just like, I really feel like there is a dearth like there hasn't been before. Who are the mainstream Black artists that are tackling issues to the degree that so many artists of this time period had been? Who is there? I mean, like, aside from Kendrick and people who are, they're mainstream, but, you know, not on your, I don't know.
J. Cole?
J. Cole.
Yeah, there's a few out there.
There's a couple.
Few. Yeah. Solange, you know, Solange Knowles. She speaks about some things.
I think music has
but these are people that like we gravitate towards. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are more, there's a wider demographic that I think this is sorely lacking. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's up to the trap kings and queens and Cardi B to do something about it, but
yeah,
there's got to be a bridge between WAP and what we're going for here. I don't know.
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right. Well, I guess on that note, let us know if you've seen Summer of Soul. Hit us up, Binge Society Podcast at gmail.com, on Instagram at Binge Society, and on TikTok and Twitter at Binge Society Pod.